Hi everyone, hope you're well. I'm just going to bring you up to date with what I've been doing today. Decided to go to Valletta this morning to register for my healthcare. Those of you who are regular viewers of the channel will know that I've been talking for a while about this infamous S1 form which you get from the NHS in the UK, which gives you basically free healthcare in Malta for the rest of your life. Anyway, I thought what was going to be quite a reasonably easy day started off very well indeed. Got a bus from outside my apartment about 9:15. It was an hour's journey to Valletta, but only cost €2, which was nice, and didn't stop at very many stops, but I suppose it took about 45 minutes to get there in the end. That's when it all went wrong, because according to Google, when I was in Valletta I could have walked to St Luke's Hospital, which is where you have to go to register your what they call entitlement for healthcare. Anyway, after walking for about 30 minutes I wasn't getting anywhere, so I thought this is crazy. It was baking hot, it was like 32-33 degrees centigrade today, very warm day. Breeze had dropped, so it was really a hot day. So I made my way back to the start of Valletta, where the bus terminus is, and I thought, well, I'll get a taxi and they must know where it is. Anyway, so I found a taxi. I think I got perhaps taken advantage of a little bit, because he wanted €20 to go about 1.5 miles down the road, but you know, I was desperate. I had to get there because the place only opened till 1 o'clock, and by now it was about sort of 11:30, 11:45 time. So I couldn't waste much more time messing about trying to walk there or whatever. So eventually I did get to St Luke's Hospital with my form. Was told by the security guy on the gate that where I wanted to go. He pointed to the actual building, which was just by the gate effectively, and said, oh, it's on the first floor. So I go in and find this lift, got in it, and it says, oh, this lift only works with a key. So I thought, oh, well, I'll give it a try and see what happens. Excuse me, scratching my nose. Anyway, eventually this lift took me up to the first floor. I get out there and it's basically it's a storeroom. So I saw a guy there and I said, look, you know, where do I go to register this form? And he said, you're going to go up another floor. So I went up to another floor. Didn't have much indication of what this place was, so I found some sort of reception desk and explained to the girl behind the desk, I've come to register my S1 blah 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 from the UK. She said, oh no, she says, it's downstairs. So back down I went, and I'm thinking, well, it can't be the one I've just come from, because that's the stores. So I went down another one, which turns out to be the level that I actually entered the building at. Found eventually, I must have been in there 30 minutes trying to find somewhere, trying to find this place. So anyway, I pressed this sort of entry phone and no one said, what do you want? The buzzer went, so I went in, and there was this really frightening woman there. I walked in the door and she said, yes. I thought, crikey, what have we got here? So I had to, you know, use a bit of charm, and by the time I left, she was quite a nice lady. So I said, well, I've come to register my S1 form for the UK, etc., etc. So anyway, cutting a long story short, they actually just basically give you a bit of paper which says certificate of entitlement, which means that now I can get free healthcare from Malta, from hospitals, surgeries, etc. What what frightened the living daylights out of me was that she said, well, she said, what you need to do next, she said, is you need to visit a surgery near you. She said, which I believe is Mosta. Well, I knew that, so I said, yes, that's fine. She said, because there are some medications that, depending on what conditions you may or may not have, where a doctor will, if it's on the list, the doctor will write you a sort of a form to say you won't have to pay for this type of medication. So I thought, that's okay. But then the bombshell was, she said, and if they do that, she's then got to come back here again to register in another department. So I'm thinking, oh dear, I don't know if I can cope with this. So anyway, I left the hospital, and the next problem I had was trying to find a bus that would bring me back to Malta. So I asked a couple of guys. I mean, where I was walking, I mean, it was quite interesting. I walked past the Maltese television studios, which, well, I say it was interesting. It wasn't particularly interesting. That area was on the roof, etc., etc. But where I was walking, there was a 49 bus. Now, for me to get back to Malta, I needed to get either a 41 or a 42 bus. So I stopped and asked this guy, and I said, well, where do I go to get a 41 or a 42 bus to go back to Malta? And he said, oh, well, he said, you need to go back in. Sorry about the brightness, my computer screen's just come on. Anyway, he said, but if you get a 49, he said, you can go back into Valletta and then get a bus from Valletta back out again. So I thought, oh, I can't be bothered with all that business. So anyway, I saw this 49 bus come in, and I said to the driver, I said, do you go to Valletta? He said, no. He said, go to Mosta. So I thought, I know Mosta, and I know that because I passed that when I was going to Valletta originally. So I said, okay, I'll go to Valletta. So that was another €2. Sorry, I said I'll go to Mosta. So that was another €2. So I got on this bus. I couldn't believe how far it was to Mosta from where I was. I mean, I haven't got a clue really where I was, other than I was somewhere in Valletta. But it must have been another, I don't know, 25-30 minute journey. So I get off the bus at Mosta, and then I waited probably half an hour for eventually I got a 42 bus that came along. So basically, by the time I got back to the apartment, I was like sort of €24 lighter, and I'd been out for about 4 hours just to register one form. So, you know, quite an eventful day really. But I haven't suffered too much with the heat. I mean, I thought at first I was going to get burnt, but you know, I think I've pretty much got used to the temperature now. But again, as I say, it's been very, very warm. I mean, they reckon that August is the month that's really going to be hot and humid. So yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but then you know, it's nice to wake up every day since I've been here with the sun shining. I mean, and believe it or not, today I've been here a fortnight, which I just don't know where the time's gone. I really don't. So my next thing, as far as health and bits and bobs is concerned, is trying to at some point arrange to go to the surgery at Mosta, which is just like a walk-in and you just sit and wait your turn. There's no appointment system. See a doctor there, show them my medical history, which I got printed from the surgery when I left Hailing Island, I don't know whether I'm hoping there's going to be stuff I haven't got to pay for, because I don't really relish the thought of that trip again. But at least this time I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, so it should be a lot easier. And then of course now I've got my health certificate of entitlement, what they call it. I can now apply for residency. So that's the next thing on the agenda. So you know, all in all, I'm getting there slowly. It's taking time, but you know, there's not much else I'm doing with my day at the moment, apart from sort of just wandering around and doing bits and bobs. You'll notice actually that I've cured the video camera problem. You may or may not want to believe this, but I've actually got the camera sitting on the top of an empty 6-litre bottle of what had still water in it. But you know, it's working quite effective, I think. Because I did actually find that I'd left my tripod back in the UK when I left here, so a bit of a stupid thing to do. But you know, I've improvised, and hopefully it's doing okay. One other thing I was going to tell you is that they're really clamping down now over here with face coverings. All the buses now have signs up saying it is obligatory to wear a mask, and in fact when I was on my way to Valletta this morning, I don't know exactly where we were, but the bus actually stopped at a bus stop, and then 2 guys got on in uniforms with masks on, and they actually checked every passenger on the bus to see if they were wearing a mask. And the guy sitting in the seat in front of me, he got a bit of a telling off. They said, put your mask on properly please, because he had it just sort of from there down, you know, he didn't have his nose covered, which I thought was good. I mean, they are checking, but having said that, you know, all the journey on the way back, didn't see anybody get on the bus to check. So, but you know, I think they are taking the right precautions, because as you may or may not have read in the press over there in the UK or wherever you're living, the COVID-19 cases in Malta have actually risen, not necessarily through well, it is through people coming over to the island, but they've been having things like hotel get-togethers where there's been sort of, I don't know, 50 odd people at some function, sort of like, I don't know, some sort of bonding function or whatever, and that's where it started again. And in fact, I did read in the paper that I read it on Monday, I think it was, that they brought 65 migrants from the sea who had escaped from, not escaped, but they were trying to move from their country. I don't know what country it was, but they eventually got picked up by the Maltese people, or the Maltese Navy, and got brought over onto the island. And I think I read that something like out of the 65, 26 of them had COVID. They were tested for it and had COVID. So, you know, it seems to be creeping up again, but as I said in one of my other videos, or I said to somebody, I can't remember now, the main shops are very, very strict on it. I mean, you cannot go in there without a mask on. But a little shop I use just down the road from me, they don't bother. You can walk in there, and the restaurant a bit below me, they're not bothered. So it's all a bit hit and miss really. But anyway, that's enough for today. I've been rattling on far long enough. So I hope you're all keeping well wherever you are watching from, and I haven't forgotten, I'm still got a video to make telling you about my experiences with the social distancing when I came over here 2 weeks ago from London Heathrow. I'll try and get that done for the weekend. But in the meantime, look after yourselves, keep safe. I'll see you soon. Bye.